The third thing that you need to do while you're fasting is meditate and journal. Now, I know some of you just kind of, wait, he said meditate. Are we going to start doing yoga? And no, I'm not talking about all of that. I want to talk about, the true definition of meditation, not some weird new age stuff, but meditation simply means to think deeply or focus one's mind for a period of time. Joshua chapter 1 verse 8 says this, "The book of law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success." So once we meditate on the Word of God, the book of the law, but the Word of God, then we will be prosperous and have good success. Here's what I've found. I've found that a lot of us listen to good sermons, a lot of us read books and even take courses like this one. Obviously, you're wanting to grow as a believer if you're taking a course like this. So we learn a lot of stuff, we get a lot of information, but we don't really do anything with that information. I don't know about you, but I've done this before where I'll read a book and it's a pretty good book. Like I enjoy it. And then at the end of the book, I'm like, what did I even read? I didn't even get anything out of that. I'm looking back through my highlights. Like I thought this was really good, but I didn't even get anything out of it. And that's why we need to slow down and we need to meditate. Again, not some weird Eastern, spirituality, but meditate as in think deeply or focus for a period of time, and then to journal what we're processing, what we're learning through that meditation. So after you spend some time in prayer, I would encourage you, say you're gonna pray for 45 minutes, maybe take 15 minutes after that 45 minutes and kind of try to silence yourself a little bit. Maybe have some music on in the background. I personally don't like dead silence because of my ADHD. Having a little music actually helps me to focus more. So I'll turn on some instrumental music, but just kind of sit and meditate. Okay, what did I feel through that time of prayer? What did I feel through my time of Bible reading? And then begin to journal that. And I'm not going to put some, super strict guidelines on this. This is going to be, what you want to do. And again, I'm not talking about, some spiritual meditation, type thing. I'm talking about meditation as in focusing deeply. And so a lot of times we're constantly talking, we're constantly asking God, God, show me the way, show me the way. God, I need an answer, but we don't stop long enough to listen. I'm sure you've had this experience before when you're talking with someone and, they keep talking and talking and talking and they never stop for you to say anything and you kind of have to interrupt them. Well, sometimes I feel like that's what God thinks about us. We're constantly talking to Him. God, say something, but we never stop long enough to hear Him because we'll stop praying. We'll say, okay, God, speak to me. And we'll wait about 5 seconds and then we're like, well, He didn't speak. Let me get on my phone. Let me get to the chores. Let me get to the dishes. Let me get to whatever. And all those things, you have to do that. That's life. But I think it'd be really good for you to budget some time, set aside some time where you can stop and think about what God is saying. During this time, again, like I said, I want you to journal. And I'm not saying that you have to say some super long thing. It doesn't even have to be proper grammar or proper spelling. I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when I'm journaling in these type of sessions, I don't even focus on punctuation or proper spelling or anything like that because nobody's going to see it really except me. So I just write. I free write. If you've ever done a session like that when you were taking an English class, just kind of a free write. And it's amazing what will come out of that when you just take some time to let the Spirit flow through you and see what's going to come out. And so highly suggest you write it down. And then this is going to be, a challenge for some of you, but I want to suggest that you do it with a pen and paper, pencil and paper, marker and paper, whatever. But I want to suggest that you don't use an iPad or a phone or anything like that. I have the Apple Pencil for my iPad. I love taking notes on my iPad, but the thing with an iPad is there are a lot of apps on here. There's a lot of notifications, and all of that is just an instant, opportunity to be distracted and to be knocked out of what God is speaking. I believe that God can, push through that. And yes, God can still speak to you. But there's been times in my life before where I know, and I just kind of have to admit it, I know that God is speaking to me, and then I'll get distracted by something, and then it's gone. And it's because of me. Again, it's like that hindrance that I put in between me and God that we talked about earlier in the course. And so I really suggest you having a pen and paper. I actually have right here my notebook. This is what I've used for about the past 6 months or so. I don't know if you can see, I don't want you to see too much, but you can just see my notes in here. And some of these for a whole day are, 3 or 4 sentences. Some days are 3 or 4 pages. And what I'll do is I will get a notebook, and I sometimes for a fast, I'll actually get a new notebook for every fast, or I'll get a new one for every year maybe. And I just put, if I'm listening to sermons during that fast, I'll take the notes for the sermons in here. If I'm doing Bible study, I'll do it all in the same place. That way I can go back to this journal and I'm like, okay, for instance, this is the one I used during my 40-day fast where I did liquid only for 40 days. I know everything that God spoke to me is in this journal. So I'm not having to look at my phone or in my iPad, or I think it was in this journal, I think it was in that journal. It's just all in one place. And so I know everything that God spoke, everything I listened to. Like I said, I even wrote down sermons that I listened to, songs that were impacting me during that season, because you're probably going to forget it. A day or two after God speaks it, you're probably not going to remember it too well. I had a teacher tell me one time that, the best way to memorize something is to write it down. So you're probably not going to remember it if you wait a couple days. And then especially a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you may be looking back and say, wow, God really impacted me when I did that fast in 2023. And man, that was so crazy. I remember he spoke so many things to me. What did he speak to me again though? Like I can't remember it exactly. Well, if it's written down, if you've taken time to meditate, if you've concentrated on what God's speaking and you wrote it down, then you're going to have this forever. And if you want to digitize it later on, that's what I do sometimes. I'll take my notes and then I'll digitize it and put it into, a note-keeping app or something like that. That's fine. But I think there's something really important about when you're in the moment, having a physical Bible, having a physical notebook, even down to the fact of getting a good pen that you like to write with. I'll get a brand new pen that I like to write with. I like to write with the Sharpie fine point pens, and I'll get that just to where there's no hindrances. I'm not having to look for a pen. I'm not having to look for a piece of paper. I'm open and I'm ready for God to speak, and I can write down exactly what He wanted to speak. So make sure you make some time for meditation. Again, not weird yoga meditation, but listening, focusing on God, and then write that down so that you can remember it for years and decades to come.